Hey guys, welcome to the Maths Club. If you are just joining us, you're welcome. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at a brand new topic in line with the WAEC syllabus, which I've studied a while ago. A topic called percentage. What are we going to be looking at inside this percentage? We're going to be looking at percentage increase, a decrease, if there is a profit, if there is a loss, and we're going to be looking at percentage error. Let's get started. So what's percentage? Percentage is simply expressing a number as a fraction of 100. What do I mean by that? So there are two keywords. There is the word called fraction. So you have a fraction, let's say 3 over 5. And then you have the word off. If you remember bird mass, off is multiplication. So you have a fraction and they are multiplying that fraction by 100. When you do that, the end result is a percentage. And you can see sometimes we'll see this symbol percentage, which is this modulus sign, represents a percentage. Now, this is it in terms of mathematical expression. So, out of the whole thing, an example is, out of your whole body, your whole body comprises of different parts. So, if I say legs, how many legs do you have with respect to your entire body? Let's say your entire body, there are like 50 different organs that are working together. But out of the 50 different organs, the number of legs that you have is just 2. So you want to say, with respect to the entire body, what percentage does my leg make up? So that would be, I'm looking at part which is legs, so that would be 2 all over the whole body, the number of organs in your body. I'm not saying this is correct, but let's take for instance, number of organs in our body is 50, so that would be 2 over 50. Then because we want to express this percentage, remember the of 100, that's why we said times 100%. So percentage are used to compare parts of a whole, indicating the relative size or proportion of a quantity. Let's look at this example. It says if you have 25 apples and 5 of them are red, the percentage of red apples is... Do you want to pause the video and try and see if you can solve this? Welcome back. Let's solve it together. So for percentage, you said that would be parts all over whole, then times 100, which is basically times 100%. So here the parts here is 5, right? Because 5 of them are just red. And then the entire number of apples that we have is 25, which is like the whole set. Then multiply this by 100. So 5 here 1, 5 here 5, 5 here 1, 5 here 20. And this is 20%. So out of the 25 apples, only 20% of them are red. Let's see if we got that right. Yeah, so you can see that. Now we're going to look at percentage increase. So imagine you're a student and then your dad gives you 1,000 naira every day to school. And it says, son, I understand the economy is harsh. I'm going to increase it by 10%. If you don't know how to interpret that value in terms of mathematics, you'll be wondering what is 10%? What is 10% increase? Or you might most likely ask your dad that what does that mean in terms of naira or dollars or cedis? Now, when the value of an item increases, it is a percentage increase. So look at something. If the original selling price of an item is P and there is a percentage increase of X, the new selling price is calculated as, this is the formula. So it's saying P, which is the original selling price, plus X. X is the percentage increase all over 100 times P. Now this is mathematics. This is mathematics. Now I'll show you how this particular equation was derived using a simple example. So if you look at it, if you have the original amount to be P and then the increase, let's say the percentage increase, to be X. Now what is the new amount? We need to find out what this percentage increase really means in terms of naira. So this is like something like saying X%. Remember, for us to convert a fraction to a percentage, we multiply by 100. Now for us to convert a percentage to a normal value, this time we will divide by 100. So that was like saying X over 100, right? So that is to take out the percentage portion. Now we're left to just the fraction part, which is like the parts all over the whole. Great. So we know the fraction. So if I say I'm going to take half of your property, right, that would be 1 over 2 times the property that you have. Same thing too. This is the fraction. this is a fraction of the original amount. So we have to say x over 100 times p. This will give us the exact value. So we're no more dealing with fractions, or dealing with this. We're talking about the amount of increase that this corresponds to. So this is xp all over 100. Now this is the original amount. So if I want to now find, okay, that has increased my allowance by x%, this is the amount that the x% is tallying to. So what will be my new amount, right, or my new allowance? So let's say the new amount will now be equal to that old amount, which is p, plus this increase, which is in terms of amount. So this is xp all over 100. What can I do? P is common in both of them. So there's p here, there's p here. I can factor out that p and say p open brackets. So this will be p divided by p. This will be 1 plus px divided by p. This will just remain x. So this is one way of writing it if you want to factor it out. But I think in our solution we add this one here, right, which was in brackets x times p all over 100. Still the same thing. So this is basically a small proof of what we arrived there. So this is that. Alternatively, to find the price of a new item after a x% increase, simply multiply the original amount by 1 plus x over 100. For this particular one, I'll use an example to illustrate this for you. Now for the example 2, it says a shopkeeper increases the price of his shirt by 15%. If the original price of the shirt was 4.5, calculate the new selling price after the increase. Let's solve it together. So using that first method I talked about, or let's say the original price, let's call it p, and then the percentage increase is 15%. It says if the original price was 4.5, so they give us the original price. So this p, I don't write p again, I'll just say 4.5. Calculate the new selling price after the increase. So the new selling price, let's call it x. For the first method I talked about, we said that would be the old price p plus x over 100 times p, or I said something like, I say p open brackets 1 plus x over 100. Now this is 4,500 open brackets 1 plus, what is x? X is 15, so this is 15 over 100. So 4,500, 1 plus 15 divided by 100 is 0.15, and that will give you 4,500 multiplied by 1 plus 0.15 is 1.15. So let's calculate that and see what that will give us. That will give you 5,175 naira. So this is basically it. That second formula that I was talking about was basically this. So if I was given a question and I'm told that a 15% increase occurred, I know that 15% increase will just be 1.15, because 15% is 0.15. So I'll just say 1.15 times the amount, 4,500. In a case of an objective question, this method will actually be better. So imagine me writing all these things in an objective question. It might not be the best. Maybe in a theory question, this will be the best approach. But for an objective question, you want to work smart. So if they say a 30% increase, I know that will be 1.30 times the amount. If they tell me that it is a 50% increase, that will be what? Great. That will be 1.50 times 4,500. So this is just a shortcut that you can use. Now let's see if our answer is actually correct. If next example says that a furniture maker estimated that the cost of making a cupboard would be about 2,500. He bought the materials and found that the cost came to 2,750. What is the percentage increase in the estimate? I wanted to solve this particular question together because we've not seen anything like this. So when we're given this kind of question, there is a formula that we can use. Now, when you're told something like this, the percentage increase would just be the new amount minus the old amount divided by the old amount, which is, they multiply this by 100%. So it's basically saying the increase, right? Because the new amount minus the old amount will give you the increase all over the old amount times 100%. So this is 2,750 minus 2,500 divided by 2,500, then multiplied by 100%. So this subtraction will give me 250 all over 2500. Then you multiply this by 100%. So this will cancel, this will be 10. This will cancel, this will be 10. So what we have is that there's a 10% increase in the estimate. Now, I want to teach you a shorter method to actually arrive at the same thing in terms of objective question. All you just need to do most times is just say, what is the new amount? The new amount is 2750. All over, what is the old amount? The old amount is 2500. Divide this on your calculator. If you do that, this will give you 1.1. Remember, from that previous example, 1.1 would relate to a 10% increase. So once I see that it is 1.1, I know that, oh, this my 1.0. 1.0 is like the old. It's like the old. You know, when something is old, one is representing old. But it's 1.1. That means that's increased by 0.1. And 0.1 is what? It's 10%. If it was 1.01, it was 1.01. 1.01 is not 10% too. It is 1% increase. So once you start working with all these things and you start solving many questions, you see that this thing will just be coming to mind. Let's see if our answer was actually correct. Great. Now we're looking at percentage decrease. So it says when the value of an item decreases, it is a percentage decrease. And it says if the original selling price of an item is P and there is a percentage decrease of Y, the new selling price is calculated as. So unlike the percentage increase where it was plus, when it is percentage decrease, this place here will be minus. And then the alternative method is also similar to that of the percentage increase. Let's see this example. So it says a businessman decided to give 10% discount on all the purchases from his store. How much would the customer pay for a shirt that was marked at 540 naira? Pause the video and try to see if you can do this by yourself. Welcome back. Let's solve it together. So what do we know? We know that the percentage decrease is 10%. We also know that the selling price is 540 naira. So what will be the new selling price for that customer? We know that the new SP is going to be, with respect to our formula, would be the selling price minus percentage decrease all over 100 and selling price. I mean, this selling price is the old selling price. So this will be 540 naira minus 10 over 100 times 540. 10 here 1, 10 here 10. Then we'll cancel this. So this will be 540 minus 54. When you do that, what does that give you? So this gave me 486 naira. Just like in the previous one, so there is also a shortcut for this. So I told that a whole is represented by 1 and 10% is 0.1, right? So that will be 1 minus 0.1. 1 minus 0.1 will give you 0.9. So instead of you having the 1 which is a O, we've deducted 10% which is 0.1 from it. So I'll just carry my calculator. 0.9 times 540 to be the new selling price. So this is 486. So if you don't understand what is happening here, watch this part again as many times until you get it. This is a shortcut for WAEC and JAMB, especially when it comes to objective questions. You don't want to spend so much time things like this. Let's see if we're correct. Great. So this one is a combination of percentage increase and decrease. It says that a motor dealer buys a car from a manufacturer for 300,000. He adds 15% when he sells it to another motor dealer, who then adds 20% of his cost and offers it for sale. If he allows the third dealer a 12.5% discount when he buys it, how much does the third dealer pay for it? Let's solve this one together. And when we solve this question, you'll see the beauty of doing that 1.1 times something. So I'll just come here and say the original selling price was 300,000, right? The person added 15%. So at this first outlay, there was a 15%. That would be 1.15 times. I'll just continue. Who then adds 20% of his cost and offers for sale. 20% is an addition, which is a percentage increase. So that will be like 1.2 times. If he allows the third dealer a 12.5% discount, so 12.5 is like saying 1 minus 12.5 is 12.5%. 12.5%. By the time you divide that by 100, that will give you what? 0.125. So minus 0.125. So if I do 1 minus 0.125, that will give me 0.875. Fine, so I'll just multiply this by 0.875. Remember, it is a discount. A discount is a decrease, it's a percentage decrease. So that's all about the percentage. So when I'm done with all this percent, I'll now multiply it by that original amount, which is what? 300,000. So now carry your calculator and solve all of this together. So this will be 1.15 times 1.2 times 0.875 times 300,000. This gives me 362,250. So this is the amount the third dealer would pay for it. If you don't believe it, let's take it step by step now. So for the first, we know that the principal is 300,000. The first person adds 15%, so that will be 300,000 plus 15 over 100 times 300,000. So I'm not going to break all of it. I'll just plug all of this into my calculator. This gives me 345,000. So this is the first person. The second person adds 20% of his cost and offers it for sale. So this is the first leg. So the second leg would be, the principal in this case here would now be this new amount because it's buying it from this person, which is 345,000, right? And then the increase will now be 345,000 plus 20 over 100 is 345,000. So plug this and solve this by yourself. This gives me 414,000. So at the end of the second leg, the car has increased to 414,000. So it now says that if the third dealer allows a 12.5% discount when he buys it, how much does the third dealer pay for? So let's go for the third leg. So the principal in this case is 414,000. Right, let's plug that. So that will be 414,000 minus 12.5, that will be 12.5 over 100 times 414,000. Let's plug this to our calculator and solve it by ourselves. When I plug this in, I had 362,250, which is basically what I had in this previous example at the top. So 362,250. So in the case of an exam, which of this approach, especially in an objective exam, which of this approach would you think would work best? Of course, it would be this one. I'll just get my value and get out of the exam hall, right? So I want you to understand both places. I know that this place about the 0.875 might be confusing to some people, but just take this 12.5 and divide it by 100. When you divide it by 100, subtract 1, subtract it from 1, and then you get the equivalent decimal that you can now use to multiply the principal at the end of the day. So just take all of the increases step by step, then multiply the principal at the end when you're done with all of the percentage. Let's see if our answer is correct. Great. Now we enter a new topic called profit and loss. Still under this, a new topic, but still the same concept. So its transaction is said to be profitable if the selling price is greater than the cost price, else it is a loss. And it makes sense. If you, let's say you're a business person, you sell biros to your classmates. You buy the biro from the market at 20 naira, you sell it to your classmates at 30 naira, you've made a profit on it. But if you buy it at 20 naira, sell it to your classmates at 10 naira, you've made a loss. How are you going to recoup the balance? So the profit is selling price minus cost price, how much you sold minus how much you bought it. Then that percentage profit will just be the profit divided by the cost price times 100%. Ignore these brackets, it's not necessary. So the profits that you made all over the cost price, that means how much you bought it, times 100%. And then loss is the same thing, because loss is going to, if you say selling price minus cost price, the cost price will be higher than the selling price because you're selling at a loss. That's why they just swap this place, that you don't have a negative value, right? But normally, if you say negative profits is a loss. And then for the percentage loss, just the loss all over the cost price times 100%. So the next question is saying that a radio which a dealer bought for 6,000 naira and marked up to give a profit of 30% was reduced in a sale by 10%. Find the final sale price and then the percentage profits. I want you to pause the video and try this out yourself. Welcome back. Let's solve it together. So we know that the cost price, CP, is 6,000 naira. And then we know that the first markup price was 30%, so that would be 1.3, right? Based on what we talked about before. So the final selling price would be, first of it said he bought for 6,000, marked it up to give a profit of 30%, so that would be 1.3 times, and that said it was reduced in a sale by 10%. So this 10%, so convert it to decimal, that will give you 0.1. right? Because the reduction, that will be 1 minus 0.1, and that gives us 0.9. So times 0.9, then times the cost price, which is 6,000 naira. That will give you the final selling price. And if you punch this in your calculator, you have 7,020 naira. So the final selling price is 7,020 naira. It now says that we should find the percentage profit. That is the difference between the selling price and the cost price, which is the profit. And then we not the percentage of it. That means with respect to the original price. So percentage profits, we already know the formula. So I'll just say 7,020 naira minus 6,000 all over the initial price of 6,000, then times 100. 7,020 naira minus 6,000 will give you 1,020 naira. And you divide that by 6,000, then you multiply by 100. That will give you 17%. So the profit that the man made was 17%. So let's see if we're actually correct. Great. This question says that a shop owner marked a shirt at a price to enable him make a gain of 20%. During the special sale period, the shirt was sold at a 10% reduction to a customer for 864 naira. What was the original cost to the shop owner? I want you to pause this video and try it out yourself. Welcome back. Let's solve it together. So we're not given the cost price. So let's just say CP is, let's say it is Y. Let's say Y. Now we know that if first marked that price by 20%, 20% is what? Great. So that would be 1.2 times, during a special sale period, the shares was sold at the 10% reduction. 10% reduction is 1 minus 0.1. Right, that would be 0.9 times, okay, they not told us that it was sold for 864 naira. So at the end of the day, the selling price, so let's say the selling price, this is the formula for, so the selling price was 864 naira, right? But we don't know what the initial cost price, so we'll just say times this Y. So if I multiply 1.2 times 0.9, what would that give me? That gave me 1.08 times Y will be equal to 864. So if I divide both sides by 1.08, that will give me 800 naira. So you can see that the initial cost price of that share was 800 naira. All the questions we given before were given the cost price. We're told to find the selling price. But in this case, we're given the selling price and now we're told to find the cost price. So you can see that the person actually made a gain of 64 naira. If you look at how much it's at the end of the day compared to how much he bought it, you see that there's a profit. Let's see if our answer is correct. Great, 800 naira. The next question says that in January 1998, a poultry farmer bought 100 hens at 150.5 each. During the year, she obtained 12,500 eggs, which she sold 125 naira per score. She spent 30,050 naira on feeding and 12,000 on drugs for the year. By December 1998, she sold the 80 surviving hens at the rate of 250 naira each. Find the percentage loss or gain. Let's solve this question together. So when you're given a question like this, you might want to break it down. First thing that we know is that there were 100 hens, and then she bought it at 150 naira.5 each. So if we multiply 150.5 by 100, that means that the cost price of all those 100 hens was 15,050 naira, because we multiplied these two. So I multiplied this guy by this guy to get this cost price. Now since during the year she obtained 12,500 eggs, which she sold 125 naira per score. So those mean those hens give her 12,500 eggs, and a score is 20. So you need to know, so one score is equal to 20. So if she sold 125 naira for 20 pieces of eggs, right? So how much did she now sell 12,500 for? I don't even remember this from when we did fractions. So if 20 eggs cost 125 naira, how much would 12,500 eggs cost? So if I cross multiply, that will be 12,500 times 125 divided by 20. Let's solve that together. So from my calculation, she made 78,125 naira just from the sales of egg. The next she now spent 30,050 naira on feeding and 12,000 on the drugs. So of course she made some expenses. So let's say the expenses. Remember, this one is like a profit, or let's not call it, but let's call it sales. So sales, because profit is selling price minus all the costs and expenses. So we should properly name it. So for these expenses, that is 30,015 naira plus 12,000, and that will give me 42,015 naira. So these are the expenses. Now say that by December of 1998, she sold the 80 surviving ends at the rate of 250 naira. So let's say sales for remaining ends. This would be, how many remained? I think it was 80. So 80 times 250. So we have 80, multiply this by 250. To my calculator and give me 20,000. The question now says that we should do what? Find a percentage loss or gain. So you know this is the initial cost price, right? So let's see, is there a profit or loss? Let's first see, is there a profit or loss? Let's add all the sales together. So from this one, she sold 20,000, or she made 20,000 from this. She made 78,125 naira from the sale of egg. Then minus all the expenses, she spent 42,015 naira. Then minus the initial cost price, which was 15,015 naira. Now let's press all of that in the calculator and see what we have. So I have a profit of 41,025 naira. So by the time I removed all the expenses and all the cost price from the sales that she had made, there was a profit of 41,025 naira. So let's find the percentage profits. All we need to do is, we have the profits all over the cost price. That means the price that she used to purchase the N plus those expenses. Of course, you have to factor in the expenses, because I mean, you want to know, okay, based on all of this money that has left my hand, in terms of buying of the chicken, in terms of buying of all of those medical things that she needed for the chicken, how much really was the profit? So times 100. The profit says 41,025 all over the cost price. What's the cost price? The cost price was 15,050 plus the expense that she had incurred was 42,050. So multiply all of this by 100. So this is 41,025 all over. By the time you add 15,050 plus 42,050, you're going to have 57,100, then times 100. So if I plug this in my calculator now, this 41,025 divided by 57,100, I multiply this by 100. What does that give me? It gave me 71.85%. That's actually very high profits. So by the time you compare the profits that she made all over the cost price plus the expenses, we realize that she made a 71.85% profit. Let's see if our answer is correct. Great. The next question is saying that when a shirt is sold for 12,000, a loss of 20% is recorded. How much should it be sold for to gain 20%? I want you to pause this video and try it out yourself. Welcome back. Let's solve it together. So what are we given? We're told that the selling price is 12,000 naira. We're also told that 12,000 naira was at a loss of 20%. So this guy here was just, if you look at it in the real sense, that's like 1 minus 0.2 multiplied by the cost price, because it was a loss, right? So if I do 1 minus 0.2, that is 0.8 times the cost price. So it means that the shirt was sold for 0.8 of the cost price. I mean, all of these things should not be new to you. So this equals to 12,000 naira. If I divide both sides by 0.8, I'll be able to find the cost price. So 12,000 divided by 0.8, that will give me 15,000 naira. So the real cost of the shirt was 15,000. Then I said, how much should it have been sold, right, for you to gain 20%? So for me to gain 20%, this is the cost price, 15,000. For me to get 20%, that would be 1.2 times 15,000. So if I multiply this by 1.2, this gives me 18,000 naira. Meaning that if I wanted the shirt to have been sold for a gain of 20% initially, I must have sold it for 18,000 naira. Let's see if our answer is correct. Great. So if you got this, well done to you. The next example is saying that two kinds of flours are mixed together in the ratio 6:4. The cost of the second flour is 2.7 naira per kilogram. If the mixture is sold for 4.5 naira per kg, thereby making a profit of 25%, find the cost of the first flour per kg. I want to pause the video and just try out something. You don't have to get it, just try out something. Welcome back. Let's look at it together. So we're told that we have two kinds of flour. So if I say flour 1 and flour 2, the first flour was in the ratio 6, the second flour was in the ratio 4. It now says that the cost of the second flour is 2.7 naira per kg. So this 2.7 naira per kg, but we don't know what the cost of the first flour is. So let's just, this is X. It now said when they mixed two of them together, they sold that mixture for 4.5 naira per kg at a profit of 25%. So by the time they mixed these guys together, they sold it for 4.5 naira per kg. Great. But then they also saw something that this was at a profit of 25%. So this is not the real cost. How can we find the real cost? We know that 1.2 of the cost price is equal to this 4.5 naira. So if I divide both sides by 1.2, I will know the cost price of that mixture. So 4.5 divided by 1.2. Oh, sorry, not 1.2, 1.25, because it was a profit of 25%. That will be 1.25 divided by 1.25 divided by 1.25. If we do this, this will give you 3.6 naira per kg. So the mixture, the original price of the mixture should have been 3.6 naira per kg. So how can we now use this to be able to find the cost of X? Remember, they said that the flour 1 and flour 2 were in the mixture 6:4. So if I wanted to do that, I could say this flour 1, the mixture is 6 all over. The combination of the ratio, if you do 6 and 4, 6 plus 4 is 10. So 6 over 10 multiplied by how much is the cost of the flour 1? We know it as X. Plus the second guy, that is 4 all over the total mixture, which is 10. Multiply this by what? 2.7, which is the cost of a kg of that flour 2. By the time we do this 2, this should equal 3.6 naira. Now let's resolve this and see. 4 divided by 10 times 2.7, this gave me 1.08, and 6 divided by 10 is 0.6x is equal to 3.6. Let's take like terms together. So that would be 0.6x is equal to 3.6 minus 1.08. If you do that, you have what? 2.52. Now this is 0.6x is equal to, if we want to make the x stand alone, we divide both sides by 0.6. Let's see what that will give us. So our x is 4.2 naira per kg. So the cost of the first mixture is 4.2 naira per kg. This might look strange. Actually, this place, it might look strange to you if you have not followed, if you have not been following us back to back. We discuss things like this when we're talking about ratio and proportion. So if you have not done that, you might want to check the playlists portion and look for the playlist on ratios and proportion. Now let's see if our answer is correct. Great. So 4.2 naira per kg. The next example says that a shopkeeper marks a television set for sale at 36,000 naira so as to make a profit of 20% on the cost price. When he sells it, he allows a discount of 5% off the marked price. Calculate the actual percentage profit. Do you want to pause this video and try it out yourself? Welcome back. Let's solve it together. So we know that initially we're selling television sets for 36,000 naira. So the initial selling price, so let me just say ISP, was 36,000 naira. They now decided to mark it up so that it could gain a 20% on the cost price. So instead of saying ISP, let's just say cost price. So this means the same cost price. So that is 1.2 times, in essence, when he sold it, he allowed a discount of 5%. So a discount of 5% would be 1 minus 0.05, not 0.5. 0.5 is 50%. In essence, you should calculate the actual percentage profit. So we already know that we are done with all the percentage, so I can multiply by the cost price is 36,000 naira. So let's see. 1 minus 0.05, that will give me 0.95. So 1.2 times 0.95 times 36,000. This gave me 41,040 naira. So this is actually the amount that I actually sold it after marking it up by 20% and giving a discount of 5%.
So what is the actual percentage profit? So I told you that there's a shortcut for this. I'm going to use the shortcut. So I'll just say selling price all over the cost price. And let me just say -1. Okay. So 41,000, 14 naira all over 36,000, then -1. If I divide it by 36,000, this gave me 1.14. So 1.14 minus 1, this gave me 0.14. Then I'll multiply this by 100 if I wanted to get the percentage. So this is 14%. This is a shortcut for objective questions. If you are solving theory questions, you might want to actually just do the full thing. So at the end of the day, we saw that the actual percentage profit was 14%. Let's see if we're correct. Great. All done to us. Now, this is the final concept I'm going to be talking about, which is called percentage error. What does it mean? So imagine you're counting money. You say, okay, I have 15 naira in my pocket, or $50 or 50 cedis in my pocket. I should be able to go to Abuja with this amount. On getting to the bus station, you've entered the bus. You now realize that it's actually not 50 naira or $50 or 50 euros that is in my purse. It's actually 40 naira. Because there's already an error, right? And you've already entered the bus, so you see there's already a problem. So most times, so if you remember when you're doing your physics practical, if you have not done it, you see there's something that they always say, make sure your answer is correct to 0.05% or something like that. That's because they know that when you're measuring all those things, maybe the angle of parallax or something like that, you might make some mistakes. So they'll give you some margin. So if it's meant to be 0.53 and you say 0.05, they'll say, okay, fine, this passes. So this is the idea behind percentage error. So percentage error is a way to measure how far off your measurement or estimate is from the correct or expected value, and is expressed as a percentage. So we know that the formula for it is the wrong value minus the actual value all over the actual value times 100%. Let's see an example to purchases. This example says that a sales boy gave a change of 75 naira to a buyer instead of 80 naira. Calculate his percentage error and correct one decimal place. I want you to pause the video and try it out yourself. Welcome back. Let's look at it together. So we know that the wrong value here is 75 naira and the correct value should have been 80 naira. So if we want to do that, we know that our formula is wrong value minus correct value all over correct value multiply this by 100. So this is 75 minus 80 all over 80 times 100%. Okay, so this should be percent, something like that, times 100. So 75 minus 80 will give me minus 5 all over 80 times 100. So you might want to punch this in your calculator instead of stressing yourself solving it. When I use my calculator, this gave me an error of minus 6.25%. The change versus what the person should have given is off by a percentage of 6.25. Sometimes you might not see minus, sometimes you might see minus, but just take note of it that it sometimes might just be the absolute value that you're looking for, which is 6.25. Let's see if we're correct. Great. Oh, okay, so this question actually said that we should correct to one decimal place. So 6.25 to one decimal place is 6.3%. Well done. And the final question says that if the percentage error of a student during the physics test is 0.05% and the actual measurement is 25 centimeter, calculate the recorded measurement. I want you to pause the video and try this out yourself. Welcome back. Let's solve it together. So we know that the percentage error is 0.05%. and then the actual measurement is 25 centimeter. So what is the which is like the wrong value in this case? What was the wrong value that was recorded? We know from our formula that percentage error is what? Great. So the wrong value minus the actual value divided by the actual value times 100%. Always write down your formula, especially if it's a theory question. So we don't know what the wrong value is, so let's just say this is x minus the actual value. We know this is 25 centimeter all over 25 centimeter times 100, and this is equal to 0.05. So the first thing that we have to divide both sides by 100. If I divide sides by 100 and divide this side by 100, this will cancel this. We'll have x minus 25 all over 25 is equal to 0.0005. And if I cross multiply, let's cross multiply and see. So 25 times 0.0005, this gave me 0.125. So x minus 25 is equal to 0.1, okay, 0.0125 actually. So to correct like terms, that would be x is equal to 0.0125 plus 25, and that will give me 25.0125. Most times they'll actually want it in maybe 2 decimal places, or you can say approximately 25.01 to 2 decimal places. So that's basically it about it. It's very simple and very straightforward. So this should actually be centimeter. Always ensure that you put in the measurements, correct units whenever you're solving questions like this. Let's see if we're correct. Great, 25.01 centimeter. So this brings us to the end of this particular video. If you found it interesting, like the video, subscribe to our channel if you have not, and if you know somebody that this channel can help, please spread the word. We believe in word of mouth. See you guys in the next video.